Hello. Well, for number one here, first we want to solve this for sine of x. So we'd subtract 3 from both sides and we get 2 sine of x equals -1. Then we're going to divide both sides by 2 and we get sine of x equals -1/2. Now we're going to take the inverse sine of both sides and we'll get x equals the inverse sine of -1/2. Well, what this is really asking us, which angles have sine values of -1/2. So x is going to equal, in the third quadrant, x is going to equal 7 pi over 6. And then in the fourth quadrant, x is going to equal 11 pi over 6. Those are the two angles between 0 and 2 pi that have a sine value of -1/2. All right, here. Let's try number 2. We got 1 minus cosine of x equals 1/2. Well, we're going to solve this for cosine of x first, so we'll subtract 1 from both sides. We get negative cosine of x equals -1/2. Divide both sides by -1. We get cosine equals a +1/2. Now we're going to take the inverse cosine of both sides. +1/2. So again, just like in the last one, we're going to figure out which angles have cosine values of 1/2. Well, there's going to be one in the first quadrant, and that's pi over 3. And there's one in the fourth quadrant, which is 5 pi over 3. So these you can get, it looks like probably all the ones that we're going to do here, we can get the angles off a unit circle instead of having to use a calculator. All right. Number 3, tangent of x plus 1 equals 0. Here we want subtract 1 from both sides. Tangent of x equals -1. So now we want to do the inverse tangent of -1. Well, so we're looking for the angles that have tangent values of -1/2. Those will be in the second and the fourth quadrants. And they're going to be 3 pi over 4 and 7 pi over 4. Because those are the angles that have tangent values of -1. Number 4, we're doing 4 cosine squared x equals 1. We'll divide both sides by 4. We get cosine squared x equals 1/4. Now we want to take the square root of both sides. So we get the cosine of x equals plus or minus the square root of 1/4, which is 1/2. Now we're going to get 4 angles where we want the angles whose cosine equals 1/2 or -1/2. So we get x equals pi over 3, 2 pi over 3, 4 pi over 3, and 5 pi over 3. Okay, all those angles, pi over the cosine of pi over 3 and the cosine of 5 pi over 3 are both +1/2. The cosines of 2 pi over 3 and 4 pi over 3 are -1/2. All right, then we got this last one, cosine squared of x plus cosine of x equals 0. For this one, we want to factor out a cosine of x. And we get cosine of x times cosine of x plus 1 equals 0. We're going to set both of those equal to 0. So we get cosine x equals 0. Cosine x plus 1 equals 0. Do the inverse cosine. X is going to equal cosine -1 of 0. Well, cosine is 0 for pi over 2 and 3 pi over 2. This one I'm going to get cosine of x equals -1. Take the inverse cosine again of -1. That equals pi. So your three answers for that one are pi over 2, 3 pi over 2, and pi. So that's how you do those.